Welcome to the last slide in CSS, which is the box model. The CSS box model is a container that holds many characteristics such as the borders, the margin, padding, and the content. It is used to develop web page designs and also the layout. First things first, the content. This consists of the text and the HTML code users get to see on the browser. Now basically, I'm going to have some pictorial representation of how the box model works. So categorically, this is going to be the content, where the text or the image or anything the user gets to see. Followed by the padding. This is the spacing between the content and its internal environment. It can have values such as 10 pixels, assuming you want to use the shorthand. Now having just padding set to 10 pixels means you want to have the padding top, the padding right, the padding bottom, and the padding left to be 10 pixels. But if you want to specifically outline the direction where you want to attach the padding to, you'd have to start with the padding for hyphen and the direction where you want to provide the padding to. And the next slide will explain that you have the padding top, the padding right, padding bottom, and also the padding left, which is the direction I'm talking about. So if you want to set the padding top to be 20 pixels, all you need to do is to write padding hyphen top or padding hyphen right to set the right side of the container to have 20 pixels of padding space. You also have the border, which literally means the edge round the container. Each CSS syntax is having border 2 pixels, which represent how thick or thin you want the edge to look like. Now having solid means you want it to be a solid line. You'd have other values like dashed, like dotted, and so on and so forth. Now the third value, which is the color, means the color you want the border to possess. And this is it. You can also have the border top, the border right, the border bottom, or the border left. The next one you have is the margin. This margin literally gives you the space between the content and its external environment. Now it has the same configurational settings as the padding. The major difference between the padding and the margin is that the padding gives the space between the content and its internal environment, while the margin gives the space between the content and its external environment. The same way you get to add the padding to the content is also the same way you get to add the margin. Meaning that if you have just one value here, it means you want to target all the four corners, which is the margin top, the margin right, the margin bottom, and the margin left, and give it a specific amount of space in pixels, which is 10. But if you want to target a particular direction, all you need to do is to provide the margin top, the margin right, or the margin bottom with the margin left for you to be able to target the particular direction you'd want to create the space between the content and its external environment. With this being the last slide in CSS, you've come to the end of the CSS course, and the next thing we'll be discussing is going to be the JavaScript. So to say, you've successfully learned the following topics under CSS, starting with what CSS is all about, CSS syntax, comment in CSS, selectors, CSS unit, and box model. See you in the next class for JavaScript.